The general froze completely. His hands shook on the controls. Both engines had failed over the ocean. He could not think. He could not speak. Then a woman entered the cockpit. "I am Specter," she said. But Specter was declared dead in 2020. Yet here she was, alive, to save everyone. General Michael Harris sat in the left pilot seat of the military transport plane. He was not just a general. He was also a skilled pilot. He had flown for 30 years. He had more experience than any pilot in the Air Force. Today he was flying a special mission. He carried important equipment and personnel across the Pacific Ocean. The flight was supposed to be simple. Fly from one military base to another. No problems. No danger. Just routine flying. The ocean below was beautiful. Blue water went on forever. No land in any direction. No other aircraft. Just the plane and the empty sky and the water far below. General Harris checked his instruments. Everything looked perfect. The engines sounded good. The fuel was plenty. The weather was clear ahead. This was the kind of flying he loved. Simple. Peaceful. No problems. In the back of the aircraft were 142 people. Military officers. Engineers. Soldiers. They trusted General Harris to fly them safely. He had never failed in his responsibility. Never crashed. Never even had a serious problem. The general felt confident. He felt in control. He felt like nothing could go wrong. Then everything went wrong. "Port engine warning light," said First Officer Sarah Chen. She pointed at the instrument panel. A red light had turned on. General Harris did not panic. Engine warning lights happened sometimes. There were procedures for this. He pressed buttons. He checked gauges. He started the emergency checklist. "Checking engine temperature," he said. His voice was calm. Professional. The temperature was rising. Very high. Too high. "Engine shutting down port side," Harris said. He moved the fuel lever for the left engine. The engine would stop. That was okay. The plane had 2 engines. One engine was enough to fly. But then something terrible happened. "Starboard engine warning light," Chen said. Her voice showed fear now. The right engine was also starting to fail. Harris looked at the right engine gauge. The temperature was climbing. Just like the left engine. Both engines were failing at the same time. "That is not possible," Harris said. But the instruments did not lie. The numbers were right there on the screen. He moved the fuel lever for the right engine. Both engines shut down. The aircraft was silent. No engines. No power. Just 200 tons of metal slowly falling toward the ocean. Harris tried to speak. No words came out. His mind was blank. He had trained for this. He had practiced it in simulators many times. But simulation was not real. The ocean below was real. The falling was real. "General," Chen said. She was looking at him. She needed him to make decisions. She needed him to lead. But Harris could not move. He could not think. His hands shook on the control yoke. His face had turned white. He was frozen with fear. The aircraft descended. 5,000 feet per minute. Falling toward the water. In 20 minutes they would hit the ocean. Everyone would die. "General Harris?" Chen called again. "What do we do?" Harris could not answer. His brain had stopped working. He understood what was happening. He understood that he had failed. He understood that all these people would die because both engines had failed and he did not know what to do. His hands gripped the control stick so tightly his knuckles turned white. Sweat ran down his face. He was the general. He was the leader. He was the one who was supposed to know what to do. But he knew nothing. He was helpless. In the main cabin, people felt the aircraft descending. Felt the nose pointing down. Felt the terrible silence where the engine noise used to be. Panic started spreading. A soldier stood up. A nurse started crying. Someone said a prayer. Someone else said they would all die in the ocean. The emergency door to the cockpit opened. A woman stepped through. She was small. She had dark hair. She wore military uniform. "What happened?" she asked. Her voice was calm. Steady. First Officer Chen looked at her. "Who are you? You cannot be in the cockpit." "Both engines failed," the woman said. She was already looking at the instruments. "You are losing altitude at 5,000 feet per minute. You have about 16 minutes before you hit the water." General Harris looked at her without understanding. He could not recognize her. He could not think. The woman moved to the side of the cockpit. She could see the instruments clearly now. She could see that both engines were offline. She could see that the general was not flying. She could see what needed to be done. "My name is Emma Reeves," the woman said. "But my call sign was Specter." General Harris gasped. Specter. That was impossible. Specter had been killed in 2020. 4 years ago. They had held a funeral. They had placed her name on the memorial wall for dead pilots. "You are not Specter," Harris said. His voice was weak. "Specter is dead." "I was dead," Emma said simply. "But I got better. And right now you need someone who can fly. You are frozen. You cannot help these people. Move out of that seat." Harris wanted to argue. He wanted to say that he was the general. He was the pilot in command. But he could not move. Fear had locked his body. Emma did not wait for permission. She pulled Harris out of the seat and pushed him toward the jump seat. She sat down in the pilot's seat. "First Officer Chen," Emma said. "I need you to focus. Can you do that?" Chen nodded. She was scared. But this woman was calm. This woman seemed to know what to do. Emma put her hands on the control stick. She felt the aircraft descending. She understood exactly what was happening. Both engines had failed. That should not happen. 2 engines do not fail by accident at the same time. Something had poisoned the fuel system. Something had destroyed both engines simultaneously. She thought about the old procedures. The procedures she had learned 10 years ago. The procedures for flying with no engines. "First Officer, I need you to check something for me," Emma said. "Behind the seat. There should be a manual fuel system switch. It is very old. Has not been used in many years. Can you find it?" "Yes," Chen said. She searched behind the seat. She found a switch covered in dust. It said manual fuel system. "I found it." "Turn it on," Emma said. Chen turned the switch. A small light turned green. "Now we are going to try to restart the engines," Emma said. "This might not work. The fuel might be bad. But we have to try." She moved the fuel lever for the left engine. She pressed the starter button. The engine made a terrible sound. It coughed and choked. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the propeller started to turn slowly. The engine roared to life. "Port engine is running," Chen shouted. Emma immediately began working on the right engine. Same procedure. Same risk. She moved the fuel lever. She pressed the button. The engine coughed. Choked. Made a terrible grinding sound. Emma adjusted some switches. She waited. Then the right engine started. Both engines were running. Both engines running, Emma said. Her voice did not show any emotion. Just fact. We are at 3,000 feet. We need to get to a landing place. Military base is 60 miles away. We can make it. She pulled back on the control stick. The aircraft's nose came up. It stopped descending. Now it was holding altitude. Then it started climbing slightly. In the main cabin, people felt the change. The aircraft was not falling anymore. It was flying. Relief washed over everyone. A soldier started crying. Not from fear. From happiness. From understanding that they would live. General Harris sat in a jump seat. He could not look at Emma. He was embarrassed. Ashamed. He had frozen. He had panicked. He had not known what to do. Emma flew the aircraft perfectly. She brought it down toward the military base. She lined up with the runway. She lowered the landing gear. She adjusted the flaps. The aircraft touched down smoothly on the concrete. It was safe. When the aircraft stopped, the emergency vehicles came fast. Red lights flashed. Sirens made noise. Medical people came aboard to check everyone for injuries. But General Harris needed to talk to Emma first. He found her talking to First Officer Chen. She looked tired now. The calmness had left her. She looked like a regular person again. Why are you alive? Harris asked. You died in 2020. I attended your funeral. I saw your name on the memorial wall. Emma looked at him with eyes that had seen terrible things. I was killed, she said. Or I should have been. My aircraft went down in enemy territory. I was captured. I spent months in prison. When I escaped, I did not want to come back. I did not want to be Specter anymore. So I let her die. I became Emma Reeves. I hid. I tried to be nobody. But today you flew, Harris said. Today you froze, Emma said. She was not angry. Just stating facts. You were the general. You were the leader. But fear stopped you from doing anything. These people would have died. General Harris felt shame. He had always been strong. He had always known what to do. But today, when it mattered most, he had failed. Why did you help? He asked. Because 142 people needed to live, Emma said simply. And I knew what to do. So I did it. Military officers came to Emma. They had questions. They wanted to know everything. How did she survive? Where had she been? How did she know how to restart the engines? Emma answered all the questions. She told the truth. She had been in prison. She had escaped. She had hidden for 4 years. She was just a passenger on the aircraft. You saved this aircraft, a senior officer said. You saved 142 lives. The Air Force wants you to come back to service. Emma shook her head. I do not want to fly anymore. Flying is connected to everything I want to forget. We do not want you to fly, the officer said. We want you to teach. We want you to train other pilots. We want your knowledge to help the Air Force become better and safer. Emma thought about this. She thought about General Harris frozen in the pilot's seat. She thought about how many pilots might face impossible situations. She thought about how her knowledge could help them. All right, she said. I will do it. But I have one condition. What is that? The officer asked. General Harris must understand why he froze, Emma said. He must learn that being frozen with fear is not weakness. It is human. But freezing with fear when people depend on you is something you must overcome. He must be better. The officer nodded. We will make sure he understands. General Harris was no longer flying aircraft. His experience showed him that he had lost something important. His confidence. His belief in himself. His courage. But he did something different. He became Emma's student. Every week, Harris met with Emma. She taught him not about flying, but about accepting that leaders sometimes cannot solve every problem alone. She taught him that asking for help is not weakness. I froze because I thought I had to solve everything, Harris said one day. I thought a general should know everything. A general should know when to trust other people, Emma said. You froze because you forgot that important lesson. Harris understood now. He had been a good pilot. But he had not been a good leader. A good leader knows when someone else has better knowledge. A good leader can step back and let someone else do the job. Emma began training other pilots. She taught them emergency procedures. She taught them how to stay calm when everything goes wrong. She taught them that sometimes you survive by doing what you have been trained to do. In 5 years, Emma's training program saved 17 aircraft. 17 times, pilots used the procedures she taught. 17 times, pilots and passengers survived when they might have died. 10 years after the engine failure, the Air Force held a special ceremony. They were honoring Emma Reeves for her service. General Harris was there. He was older now. But he was still standing straight. Emma received a medal for bravery. For leadership. For service to aviation. When Harris presented the medal, he said, Emma Specter was declared dead in 2020. But on one day, when both engines failed over the ocean, she came back to life. She saved 142 people. She saved me from my own fear. She taught the Air Force what real courage looks like. Harris looked directly at Emma. You taught me that a leader must accept help, Harris said. You taught me that strength is not about knowing everything. Strength is about being honest about what you do not know. Emma received the medal. She held it for a moment. Then she looked at Harris. You learned that lesson, she said. And because you learned it, you became a better leader. You helped other officers understand it. That is how we make the Air Force safer. Not by being perfect. But by being honest about our mistakes and learning from them. Emma never flew another combat mission. She never wanted to be that person again. That person had killed people. That person had lived with pain and fear every day. But Emma Reeves became something else. She became a teacher. She became a helper. She became someone who used her knowledge to keep people alive. The woman who was declared dead in 2020 lived 20 more years after that day over the ocean. She trained hundreds of pilots. She helped design better safety systems. She saved thousands of lives without ever firing a weapon or flying into combat again. When people asked her how she felt about coming back from the dead, she said, I was dead because I wanted to stop being a killer. But life gave me a choice. I could teach others not to make my mistakes. I could use my pain to help people. That is better than being dead. That is better than staying hidden. That is what coming back to life really means. General Harris became one of the best leaders in the Air Force. He was known for listening to his people. He was known for admitting when he did not know something. He was known for being strong enough to ask for help. And he always remembered the day that both engines failed over the ocean. He remembered the moment he froze. He remembered the woman who came through the cockpit door and saved everyone. That was the day he learned what real strength looked like.